Hey everyone, my name is Elis, and today we're gonna be talking about one of my favorite houseplants, Monstera Adansonii. Hey everyone, my name is Elis, and today we're gonna be talking about one of my favorite houseplants, Monstera Adansonii, or commonly known as the Swiss cheese plant or the Swiss cheese vine, which I think is way more accurate description of this plant. Because as you know, a lot of people refer to Monstera deliciosa as the Swiss cheese plant, so I think we should stick with a Swiss cheese vine for this little plant. I wasn't super keen on Adansonii when I first saw it. I kind of just thought it was a dumb little monstera that looked flimsy and all over the place. But then I saw one that was trailing all over the place, and it just made me really want one. And now I am a little bit obsessed with it, and I'm kind of have to battle with myself to not just fill my place with all of them. I love my common plants, and this one is definitely one of my favorite common plants. It's in a way such a versatile plant. You can grow it in so many different ways, and I just really like the way it looks. And I love plants that grow fast, and I love plants that will threaten to take over your place if you take too good care of them. So funny enough, the Monstera deliciosa is actually a very common rare plant because the Monstera Adansonii is actually way more common, and you can find it all over South America, Central America. You can also find it in the West Indian Islands. How this plant grows in nature is that it trails along the forest floors until it finds a tree to climb up and reach up for the sun. So that being said, how should you take care of it in your home, and how do I take care of them in my home? First, let's talk about light. What I have observed with my Swiss cheese vine is that they really like a lot of bright indirect sunlight. I make sure that they never get direct sunlight on their leaves because their foliage is quite thin, so it is prone to scorching really easily. What I find really good as well is to point grow lights at them, very gentle grow lights as supplementary lights, so they can utilize the sunlight that they're currently getting as much as possible. The main reason why it's so important to provide a lot of bright indirect light to them, if they're not getting enough of it, they will start getting very leggy because they're a vining plant, and then they will start to lose this lushness that is going on, and that's what we want to keep. The Monstera Adansonii really appreciates high humidity and a warm temperamental temperature. Because of their foliage is so thin, they are very sensitive to the cold, so make sure they don't get cold, especially not freezing cold. We're not gonna keep them outside here in Vancouver. And they really appreciate high humidity. So if you can live in a place that has 70% or higher humidity, that's so nice for them. But they are adaptable to lower humidity, so don't worry too much. But if you just want to give them the best chance at growing and getting really big and really gorgeous, a lot of humidity. They love it. So when it comes to watering your Monstera Adansonii, you should never really keep a schedule when it comes to watering your plants. You really need to recognize when they need to be watered and when they don't need to be watered. What I have had a lot of luck with is to let them get really, really dry before I re-water them. I like to water my plants by giving them a good soak. I keep them in the nursery pots so I can let the water flow right through them. But one thing you have to consider, for example, in the winter months, when the water isn't evaporating as quickly as it would in the summertime when the temperature is higher, they really don't like it when they sit in soggy soil for too long. The bottom leaves will start to yellow, and is a pretty clear indicator that it has been overwatered in a way. Like, don't get me wrong, it will be fine, but you will just lose some leaves. So make sure to water it appropriately depending on the temperature and humidity in your home and the temperature outside, and make sure the soil dries out quick enough, but also make sure it gets enough moisture. And that's why the soil is so important. What I like to keep my Monstera Adansonii in is a mixture of peat moss with perlite and even some orchid bark, because you want it to be fast draining, but you want the peat moss in there so it holds enough moisture to nourish it properly. What's really cool about peat moss is that it kind of acts like a sponge. It is moist enough to be moist and to clean your home, but when you squeeze it, it's like not drenched and not getting wet everywhere, because we don't want root rot. And what's good about having perlite and bark in your soil for the Monstera Adansonii is because you want to be able to drench it. You want to be able to give it a good shower, because you want to be able to move the nourishment of the soil around the roots. You want to allow those roots to get a good little shower in there. Propagating a Monstera Adansonii is very, very easy. It's similar to the pothos plant. You simply cut the stem, trim them where they have the air nodes, and you can either stick them straight into the soil, make sure that down is down and up is up, or you can water propagate them, put them in water, switch it out regularly. It promotes faster root growth. I'm having so much luck with that with my pothos here, golden pothos. When you water propagate them, you gotta make sure that the roots are about 1 or 2 inches long. And when you transfer them into a soil, water them almost every day, and then cut back on the watering as you go along, because you don't want to shock them too much from the water to the soil. And when you soil propagate them, you can do all those cuttings, put them in the soil, make a full lush plant, but be aware that you're probably gonna lose a stem or two. That's just how it goes. Not everything always works out. I find the Monstera Adansonii to be pretty chill when it comes to pests. I haven't had any issues with mine, and I've had spider mites and mealybugs all over, but these guys are just like, no, yeah, we're cool. But they are prone to mealybugs, and this is why it's so important, like with all of your plants, to check their leaves all the time. This is why we got plants, so we could adore them and take care of them. So check the leaves, wipe them off, give them a shower. It is one of the best ways to prevent and deal with pest infestation. But if it gets really bad, resort to spraying them with rubbing alcohol or a nice plant-based soap mixture. I've had a lot of luck with that. Things are all looking up for my plants that have some spider mites. Finally, what's really cool about the Monstera Adansonii, unlike the Monstera deliciosa, for example, is that these guys are completely chill to grow vining and trailing all over the place, or to stake them up and allow them to climb up. The Monstera deliciosa, if you don't stake it up, it's gonna just overrun your place. But these guys look very cool either way. So this one I'm still allowing to just grow out of the pot. I'm gonna see where it's gonna go. But as you can see in my background, I did something I think is really cool. Let me just get it. I created this living sphagnum moss climbing wall for it. It was actually just a tiny little cutting when I first put it in there, and that was not so long ago. And I will like put a picture here to see how it started out. This was just a little experiment that I wasn't sure how it was gonna go. It was just a little crazy idea that I had. So what I did is just I took a piece of wood, I drilled some holes, I put some moss and soil in there. You can, if you follow me on Facebook or on Instagram, you can see my process. I decided to not just put the moss, but there's also a soil mixture here. So I'm hoping what it will do is like really encourage it to shoot in their air roots in there and like really climb. It actually started growing a lot faster after I put it there. What I think is really good about this is that moss is really good at retaining moisture. It's fairly easy to keep it moist because I can spritz it, and that's actually a type of spritzing that works. I thought it was a good idea to have some soil in here because that it further promotes moisture, and it's actually not that hard to water. I usually just take it to the shower and give it a soak, and if I don't, I can actually just put a can of water here and I just press it against it, and I can allow the soil to top chug the moisture into here. And now this guy has been giving me new leaves every other week or so, and they unfurl very cleanly, very pleasantly. What I've also done is that I have a grow light or like a mild grow light bulb on top of it, shining down on it, which encourages it to grow upwards, climb up to the light. And what also happens when you allow your Monstera Adansonii to grow upwards and climb up a wall is that eventually the top leaves will get a lot bigger than the bottom leaves. Similar to the pothos, if you let the pothos climb, you get bigger leaves. So I'm really excited to see how it progresses. And if you want to see how it progresses, you should definitely check out my social media and follow it there because I'll post updates. And speaking of monsteras, I found this driftwood for my Monstera deliciosa that I'm gonna allow it to climb up. I'm gonna look at ways to attach some moss on there to create a little natural moisture habitat. So that's an exciting project to see. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you check out my social media. I have a lot of plant stuff there and all sorts of other things and some funny stuff on TikTok. And I hope you subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.